Alright, Nem. Nem's standing with a few of the soldiers. She nods as you approach. And Vase. Go bother Rex if you like him so much. Yep. So much of his personality seems to be wrapped up in his hatred of Rex. It's weird. Fang is asleep at her desk. It is late wet, which means this is her birthday. So even though she is maxed, I will still give her a flower. It seems you've remembered my birthday. How thoughtful of you, Tang says, accepting the flower with a dubious look. I'll set this flower aside to analyze later. I am interested in the properties of all autumnal flora. I hope you find it useful. Thank you. Alright. Rex slings an arm around you, knocking his head against yours. Another beautiful day in paradise, right? He says, a voice light but dripping with irony. You doing okay? Taking care of yourself? Yes, I am. Mars. Mars is focused on something on her holopalm. If it's another grievance, just send it to me over holo. I'm up to my earrings and... She stops and looks up. Oh, she exclaims, it's you. What do you need, Selene? I don't need anything. I'm doing great. Thinking about your next game. So I definitely could explore more, but part of me is thinking about resting this month so that I have max stress. Do you have something you should be doing right now, Selene? So I have max stress when we go into Glow. Just to be sure I'm ready for whatever Glow brings. Yep, we read that from our dad. Cal is diligently logging this season's crops into the colony's agricultural inventory, a frown creasing his usually serene face. When he sees you, he smiles with relief. Selene, he says, reaching out and taking your hand. He pulls you into an achingly tender kiss. Seeing you always makes me feel better, he says, pressing his forehead to yours. Alright, so yeah, I'm thinking of resting for the month. It's not super needed, but might as well. You're playing with Optimus Prime in the park when you hear a rustle from a nearby bush. Curious, you look underneath. It's the Hopeye you met before. Optimus Prime lets out a happy trill of recognition. The other Hopeye trills as well, and explodes out from under the bush to bounce happily around Optimus Prime. They chitter excitedly at each other, and you hear something else is making noise. You look under the bush and see, oh stars, 5 baby Hopeyes, pink and hairless, curled up together in the shade. The strange adult Hopeye stops what it's doing and bounds over to you, warning you with a rattling hiss. Try to calm the Hopeye down. I'm not going to hurt your children, obviously. Goal of 99 and a hard challenge even with maxed animals. That's crazy. Um, 6, 5, 4. We could do that. Yeah, that might actually be the best we have, because I was like 7, 6, but then that's going to turn into a 5, which kills that. We don't have any 3s. Do a 5, 4, 3. Yeah, we'll just do this 6, 5, 4. We're kind of wasting some of the powers on some of these, but 5 is rarely going to be the highest, so that won't come into play. Turning that card to the right to a 5 is probably going to hurt us more than help us. This is actually a pretty good card, but oh well. Next round. Do we get any big cards? Not really. We could do 7, 5, 5, 5. Sure. And 43 points here. I mean, we could just toss in a bunch of wild zeros. Probably not the route to go. I could do like a 7 there and a 3. And then it's a really long straight and also pairs and stuff. But probably not. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's better. And it's all considered a single color. Yeah. What about you, Autoplay Fairy? What do you think I should do? You actually like the 3 wild zeros. Crazy. Why this? Because if I did that... Why is that lower than that? Oh, because that counts as a pair. So my thought is I could do that. Yeah, so that is slightly better. Or just as easily I could do that. Okay. Yeah, I think that's about as good as I'm gonna get. Yeah, there we go. Max score. Which again, doesn't particularly matter. It just gives me a kudo, which... not a big deal. You managed to calm down the Hopeye using tricks you've learned from training Optimus Prime. They cautiously allow you to pet them, their giant frog-like eyes blinking out of sync. And we get the Hopeye 3 card. So we get 3 less stress now, which is really good. You spend some time gazing in awe at the little Hopeye nest. They're so small and helpless. No wonder the Hopeye wanted to protect them. You've been working with Bright Eyes for months on getting them to follow simple commands. You're getting pretty consistent results with 1 or 2 at a time, but they get bored and wander away if you try to do a longer session. You've set up a small obstacle course in the garden, consisting of a few ramps and balancing beams. Bright Eyes looks at the treats in your hand expectantly. Well, let's run that obstacle course. Alright. What do we have? That 4 will cause problems from setting others to that same value. But I could do something like that, use a bunch of smaller cards. Oh, change it from a 4 to 3 because it's not red anymore. But big bonus for pairs. So that still seems like it's fine for a good start. Sure. Oh, was that like 100 and something was the goal? That was crazy. I just noticed as I clicked to go to the next round. Alright. We've got 2 wilds. We'll probably save those for the last round, unless I have a good reason to use them here. 7, 6, 5. There we go. Then we can have matching color. 34, that should be easy enough. We go with 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. Sure. You prefer that? By a lot, okay. Oh, because this needs that to be blue. Okay. I can see where you're coming from. +3 animals, doesn't really matter. We got our level 3 Ricky. +1 skill on challenge wins. On all challenges? That would have been amazing to get ages ago. And then a +5 bonus on straights. A stunning show from young Bright Eyes. Admirable speed and dexterity. They and their trainer, Selene, are promising new stars in the field of Ricky training. I'm pretty sure I'm the only Ricky trainer, and this is the only Ricky being trained. Bright Eyes finishes the course and leaps into your arms, chittering happily. You did it! You've trained a Ricky to follow commands. I'm not getting rid of either of those. Even though a 0 is terrible, it's a wild 0, which, as we've seen, has its uses. That brings us to glow. Alright, who is out and about in glow? I think this is our last month of the game. Anyone up here? No. Nim shoots you a small smile as you approach. There's still a lot to do before sundown, but if you need me, I'm here. I've got an egg for you. You're a hero. Yep. Vase. Vase frowns. If you always knew the attacks were coming during glow, why aren't you Stratos better prepared? That's just common sense. We just didn't have a lot of guns on our hands. Have some cake. I appreciate it, but why? It's not my birthday. I know. Crystal cluster. Hi, Tang. It stands to reason that there will be some sort of attack this glow, as there has been in other years, Tang says, looking out towards the walls. It's my hypothesis that each attack will grow in intensity until we are routed from the planet, or become the dominant species. With how difficult this year was on our food supplies, we are certainly entering this season at a disadvantage. You spot your dad standing stock still, his eyes closed and his head tilted to listen. Hey, Gooseberry, he says, recognizing you from the sound of your footsteps. Have you ever paid attention to the planet during glow? It feels different. He blinks his eyes open. It's like a hum. He continues, maybe from the plants? Heck, maybe from the wormhole. I think he says that basically every glow, at least for the past few years. Take care of yourself, Selene, your mom says grimly. She's taking a break, hot blep tea in hand, looking warily out towards the walls. I don't want you too far from the colony if we're attacked again this year. She turns to you. Don't be a hero, Selene. You kids need to stay safe. Cal stands in the middle of the garden, looking around at the blanketing dark and the eerie glow from the nearby fungal forest. I never knew plants could be like this, he breathes. It's amazing. Alright, what do we want to do this glow? So we weren't able to get Lum replaced, which means we weren't able to get the governor to agree to the gardener's plan. It's not even an option. So we are not going to be accomplishing peace. So as part of me was like, we could go out of the colony because exploring during glow is still an option available to us, I assume. Yeah, sneak out to explore glow, but I don't think that would really do much for us. I don't think there's any way to still accomplish peace. So I guess, is there anything we might actually be able to get a perk in? Not that it super matters. Persuasion seems likely. Assisting the governor is persuasion and organizing. So maybe we'll do that. Assist right before probably another attack. Being Lum's assistant isn't the glamorous life of political intrigue you were hoping for. He's more of a soldier than a politician, and even then, you hear he's not much of a soldier either. If he notices that people mock him, he doesn't seem to care. It almost makes him more boastful, like he thinks the sole duty of governor is to soak up as much attention and power and wield it whenever and however he likes. Whenever he's questioned on something, he unleashes such a torrent of bravado and barely veiled threats that it's impossible to make your own point, and then he just pushes through what he wanted to do anyway. It's infuriating. Given that the colony's governance was based around the idea of communication and empathy, no one seems to know how to contain him. As for the Helios, they seem to have their own ways to get around him. They're grateful he's gotten into politics because it means your older and more experienced security chief Rhett makes all the largest military decisions. In fact, you think some of them enjoy that he's such a moron because they hope the colony fails. They think he's entertaining. Mars is responsible for producing his social media content, which he considers an important part of his brand. They mostly consist of powerful sounding but ultimately empty speeches about how great the colony is doing and how proud everyone should be of their really, really, truly great work. Just fantastic, really. Usually while carrying a log of mushwood so he looks super strong. You and Mars are huddled in command, trying to avoid his attention, while Mars scrolls through Lum's selfie roll, trying to pick the best one for social media. As a political strategy, it's not unheard of, she mutters. Plenty of Earth dictators used it. I just can't tell if it's his official strategy or if he really is that vain. You hear footsteps approaching and Mars groans. Lum claps his hand on her shoulder and smiles broadly. There you are. I was thinking in the next video, I think the colony is ready to see some of the footage from that counterattack I led against the enemy aliens. Oh, stars. You remember this. Lum plays the footage of the time he charged into battle and nearly got everyone killed with explosives. You cringe as you remember it wasn't your finest moment either. You can't believe it. This is the footage he wants to hold up as proof of his bravery and vision. This is great footage, Mars simpers. Just really great. It's actually perfect for Selene to practice working on his video editing skills. You shoot Mars a stinky look, but she just smiles. Lum agrees. With such great material, he practically did your job for you. How are you going to spin this into a propaganda piece? Do your best to make him look good, which is a hard challenge. Try to make him look bad, which is easy. Tell him how stupid this is, or convince him to try something else. We're gonna try and make him look bad. We still don't really like him. And it's easy. $79 is our easy goal. Alright. 5, 4, becomes blue, and blue gain +1. Alright. Guess we won't be doing 5, 4, 3. Oh, we could do it with that. Oh, but that 3 is going to double. So if we put... messing everything up. There. 5, 4, 3. Nice, good, straight. Next round. 6, 5, 4, 3. I don't really want to waste that one because +6 is awesome. Well, that will turn it into a 9, which means that is an 8. 7, 6. There we go. That's big numbers. I was gonna say we could just put a bunch of 5s in. I was hoping to get them all be red. That's not possible, but yeah. Why you? As opposed to, like this. That's better. Alright. Nice. That's the maximum score. We lost a couple of kudos because of using that Mars card. Right? Yeah, Mars' ambition. You crack your knuckles and settle in to make Lum worse than a joke. You make him a meme. Oh. Gained some rebellion, lost some colony defense? I didn't consider that happening. Lost some kudos? Mars cackles when she watches the video, then hits send. It's perfect, she says. I don't care if he looks bad. Garbage in, garbage out, you know? She sighs wistfully as people start to react to the video. I would give you much better source material. Man, I did not think it would hurt colony defense. That could be a problem as we're going into a glow attack. Knowing the attack is coming, as it always comes in glow, does nothing to calm your nerves. There's only so much you can handle sheltering in your quarters. As the month draws longer, you find yourself almost compulsively walking the walls when you're not working, scanning the tree line for the first sign of trouble. You're there when you see them, dark on dark shapes coming out of the forest, perfectly silent. You watch with the lookouts as more and more figures amass at the forest's edge. Minutes pass as the horde pushes into the firebreak, numbering at least, it seems to be in the thousands. More animals than you've ever seen in one place. The ground is choked with a teeming carpet of smaller creatures darting in and amongst the legs of... No. Oh no. The forest bends as Faceless emerge from its depths, followed by a Faceless, followed by two more. The mood on the walls is discouraged. One Faceless destroyed the colony. Two Faceless required an irresponsible number of explosives to take down. How are you supposed to be able to handle three? Wait, there's even more? A familiar being cuts through the horde and stands at the front, like a general leading their army. Gardeners must come in all shapes and sizes, but you know this one from the hatred in their eyes. It's Noctilucent. Noctilucent steps forward. For millennia, I have been tasked with keeping this planet safe from invasive species. Extreme weather, plague, famine, and migration of predators, all tactics I have used to ensure an invasive species cannot find a foothold where they do not belong. Their command of the human language has vastly improved since you saw them last. The gardeners learn quickly. Controlling you by indirect means has proven ineffective, they say, glaring up at the row of horrified colonists atop the walls. I can no longer ignore the destruction you've caused and the threat you represent to the planetary ecosystem. However, Sim steps out of the tree line and stands beside Noctilucent. His eyes find yours unerringly across the firebreak. Some gardeners argue that you have the capacity for reason, Noctilucent continues, so I've come to offer you an alternative. Your unconditional surrender. Noctilucent smirks up at you. Surrender is the correct word, is it not? Something your singular, violent brains can understand? The terms are simple. Humanity will cease reproduction, cease expansion, and in return will be allowed to live out your remaining lifespans within the bounds of your walls. Do you accept? Lum steps forward. I'm betting at this point Lum is probably feeling a little bit stupid if he remembers me saying, hey, we've got a deal where we can coexist peacefully, and he's just like, there are no intelligent aliens, shut up, leave me alone. Lum steps forward. I'm going to tell you the same thing I told your little double agent spy. His voice booms out of the wall. You and your bull deal can bugger off and keep buggering off until you think you've buggered off so much you just can't bugger off any further. He points at Noctilucent. Then bugger off some more. This planet belongs to us humans. Now, never mind. Lum does not care. Lum's just like, we're humans, we'll win, even though there's three Faceless there. It's fine. It's hard to tell, but you think Noctilucent looks amused? Maybe they were hoping this would be your answer, and of course, with Lum speaking for the colony, it was inevitable. So be it, they reply, and the attack begins. Fight or flee. Our bravery is high enough, so let's fight. Gain status heroic, like we do every time we fight. Your species is truly hopeless, Noctilucent snarls. I told them you would never put aside your egos. The wave of attackers rolls over the firebreak, crashing against the walls. Flying creatures scream overhead, and the sound of plas rifle fire fills the air. You rush toward the garrison to join the squads. As you run, you notice the colony is well defended. If our defense was 10 or greater, the colony defense is a mediocre, between 10 and 5, or the colony is badly defended, less than 5. We apparently are somewhere in the middle with a mediocre defense. I mean, we might have been at 10 if we hadn't insulted Lum, and if that's the case, wow, bad planning on our part. But I didn't bother checking, so who knows. As you run, you notice that the colony seems to be holding its own. Nothing has breached the walls yet, and it seems that the tide of monsters emerging from the trees has slowed. The colony looks evenly matched. The battle's not in the bag, but so long as the defenses hold, things look hopeful. You're descending from the walls when you're thrown to the ground by a tremendous rumble. A few meters in front of you, something tunnels toward you through the mud. You have the impression of something long and dark that cuts through the ground like a shark through water. You scramble to your feet, but it cuts off your path, forcing you toward the geoponics outbuilding. It's a storage shed, mostly empty besides bales of hay, used as float cow feed. It's dimly lit, but you think you see another door at the far end. The creature advances through the rocks and chunks of dirt as it tunnels closer. Fight it with a hard challenge or avoid it. We're gonna fight. Gold 99, alright. Whatever's here becomes red and we'll gain a +1. So that can become a 9, but I don't have an 8. What if I go for pairs then? I have like 6, 6, and then I don't have a 5. I mean, I have a red 5, but not a different colored 5 that will turn red and get a +1. Or do I just go with big numbers? We'll go with big numbers to start. Why not? Still keep the 11. So this one will be huge if the card to the left is blue. We can toss in the wild. So if that was an 8, which I can't make. Although I can double a 4. 10, 9, 8. There we go. Maybe. No, that's definitely the better choice. I don't know what I'm thinking. Yeah. Maybe just toss in some of these middling cards and keep the 11 for later. 35 points. That should definitely be doable. So then 10, 9, 8. 8. I don't have a 7. Whatever, something like that seems reasonable. We win, that's what matters. +1 colony defense. You grab a rake and back into the doorway and wait for the monster to emerge. As it rears up and thrusts a long black snout out of the ground, you stab the rake down into it, dispatching it. Before you even have time to be relieved, you spot a second one tunneling towards you. You take another step back into the storehouse and feel heat. The building is on fire. The dry thatch roof quickly ignites and rains flaming debris down on your head, filling the room with toxic smoke. The ashy heat is intense. You can feel it ripping the moisture from your lungs with every breath. You rush for the rear door, but the fire moves so fast, you're trapped as a roof beam collapses in front of you. You hear crackling noise, then just pain, and a noise like a bell. The world goes dark. You wake to chaos, a confusion of light and heat and smoke. Fire. Your head is pounding. You must have hit it and blacked out. You aren't sure how you got here or what in Vertumna is happening. There's something important you need to remember. Your stomach lurches as the floor crumbles beneath you, beneath your feet, then collapses. Your body aches and your eyes burn from the smoke. A figure appears through the flames. It's your friend. Your friend? Wait, why can't you remember her name? She's gesturing and shouting at you, but all you hear is a ring in your ears. Obviously, this is the opening scene, being replayed now. Well, again, try and climb out. You try to stand up, but one of your legs folds uselessly underneath you. It won't hold your weight. Your friend pulls you out of the rubble. She throws your arm over her shoulder and half drags you towards the door. Through it, you see a deep, eerie twilight, dark blue and cold against the heat of the fire around you. Glow season. Glowing eyes. You shake your head to clear your vision. Is that some kind of dog? Like from Earth? Wait, hold on. You remember this from another life. Not a dog. A monster. It's about to end your life, and probably Nem's too. She tightens her grip on you. So I'm wondering if obviously that was my only option, was to choose the you remember this from another life. And I'm wondering if I got here without ever doing the reloading from saves and all that, if it was just a straight playthrough, would there have been a different option? Or would I have the you remember this from another life because we would remember the opening scene? And I don't know. It's about to end your life and probably Nem's too. She tightens her grip on you. Shield Nem if I had enough bravery. You prepared for this earlier because our biology is 100 or greater, or dodge and fight it with animals 100 greater. Biology. We prepared for this earlier. You've remembered this day for many years. The choking heat of the fire, the dog creature's dead yellow eyes haunting your dreams. You've prepared for it. Specifically, you installed an armed freeze trap right where you knew the animal would be standing when it transformed into a towering horror. As it does, you trigger the detonator. The trap sucks inward, drawing all the heat from its surroundings. The monster's feet are frozen to the floor as it instantly crystallizes, becoming an ice statue. Nem doesn't stop to wonder how this happened. She gives the statue a solid kick and it shatters into a million fragments. You emerge from the inferno of the shed, burned and concussed, but alive. And Emily smiles. It's good to be alive. You have your wounds tended in the med bay. Other soldiers are in much worse shape, but at least the battle is over. It was long and bitter, resulting yet again in the destruction of most of the sawmills and arable land. The defenders managed to repel the Xenos before damage could be done to the inner colony, or maybe the monsters lost interest before finishing the job. It's as if the planet wants you to suffer, but doesn't actually intend to finish you off. Yet, anyway. But for now, you're just happy you've survived to live another day, and that day is your birthday. By the time you've recovered, the suns have returned. It's your 20th birthday. You're a full-fledged adult now, though in many ways you already were, and have been for a long time. You and your friends step out to greet the new day, and start the rest of your life on Vertumna. The end. You've reached your 20th birthday. Roboticist is the job we ended up getting for our final career. You've always loved machines and decided to dedicate your life to them. You make the colony high-tech, refusing to let things just break down as people expected they would. Why bring all this technology to a new planet if you weren't going to fight your hardest to preserve it? You start a microprocessor factory. You tinker with the bot programming. Apparently, because we are so loyal to the colony, we make a microprocessor factory. Not content to let the colony return to the Dark Ages, you coordinate with the explorers to source some of the rarer elements needed to create complex electronics. The first thing you set out to produce are new nanoprinters. Without those raw materials, it's not like the nanoprinters could print their own replacements after all. Your new nanoprinters have an even longer lifespan, and they're locally sourced. You take Chief Engineer Instance's council position when she retires. She retreats into her lab and is rarely seen, always working away on something. You're better with your robot coworkers than your human ones, but you make it work. But what about Cal? Your boyfriend Cal grew up, but he never lost his boyish charm. Cal soon rises to the role of Chief Cultivator. The responsibility of feeding the colony is enormous. Cal isn't good with confrontation or pushing people as hard as your mom famously did. On years when a drought or pests threaten the food supply, you often see him looking haggard. He deals with a lot of stress, and it ages him quickly, but his kind nature means he never takes it out on other people or wants them to worry about him. He's a lot like your dad that way. Not every relationship that begins in your teenage years is fit to last, but with Cal, it just works. Cal's a natural father. Together you have a tidy little sum of children, and that's the only tidy thing about them. Your children grow up digging in the dirt, eating bugs, nearly getting mauled by farm equipment, and having a great time being kids. Cal himself never gives up on trying to convince people to live in harmony with Vertumna. Though his family is his source of strength, he struggles with the violence that's necessary for the colony to survive here. In his 50s, he's killed while defending geoponics during an attack. You grieve him deeply for many years. But what about? You worked for many years with Tangent in engineering. She's just as essential as you and she was to Instance, even if at first she's a little resentful that you were named Chief Engineer over her. You always thought you had a good working relationship with Tangent, that she was happy being your second, which is why it's surprising when Tangent abandoned her responsibilities as second 1 year after you're named chief. At first, she's happy tinkering with her own research, passion projects that she's had to put aside when she was working in the lab under Instance, things of little interest to the colony. Gradually, though, you notice that something is wrong. Her quarters, once so pristine due to lack of use, are jammed full of experiments. She takes her meals in her room and often disappears from the laboratory for days at a time. Any polite questions about her independent research are met with either wild-eyed silence or an incomprehensible jumble of half-formed hypotheses and streams of consciousness. Even Instance finds her bizarre enthusiasm impenetrable. She spends more and more time alone with her experiments. People begin to worry. And then she just stops. Everything. Her experiments languish. Tangent languishes. As her friend, you're allowed access to her inner sanctum, her quarters now completely in disarray, reeking of rotten organics, where you find her still in bed more often than not. Sometimes she's sleeping, but more often she just lies there, trapped in a nightmarish waking state by her hypercharged metabolism. You hold her hand and talk about nothing, solely uncovering her obsession with Dis's fate. Unable to see her in pain, you tell her everything you know, that you saw Dis become one with the planet, and that he's happy with his chosen life as a gardener. It's hard for her to hear. She's angry at you for keeping this from her, but it's an important first step to accepting that her brother is gone for good. You're there to support her as she grieves her broken family, and when she's ready, return to work in the laboratory. Her love life remains fairly private, though she's not as frigid as she's always claimed. You hear from the colony gossip that she carries on with a string of casual relationships, mostly with other scientists, mostly women. She donates genetic material to a number of children, but doesn't choose to raise any as her own. She's quite picky about their genetic enhancements, obsessing over any markers of anxiety or depression that run in her family. But ultimately, her children grow up healthy and in loving families, far removed from Tang's own childhood. It's a bittersweet reminder for her. Tangent lives and dies in the shadow of what she almost caused to happen on Vertumna, knowing that she almost killed every living thing on the planet weighs heavily on her for the rest of her days. Unfortunately, even with genetic alteration, the human body was not made to withstand long periods without sleep, and Tangent's willful negligence in taking care of herself certainly doesn't help. She develops a heart condition in her early 60s that outpaces the healing capacity of the medbeds, and it eventually takes her life. What about symbiosis, the bridge between two peoples? Undying, never aging, ever patient Sim becomes as much a mystery to you as the rest of the planet. The colony continues to buckle under yearly attacks and unnatural disasters, but Sim never wavers in his passion to learn everything about humanity. Though he remains as cryptic as always, his affection for your species only deepens. In your grief and demoralizing fatigue, you sometimes turn to blaming Sim. Why can't he stop these attacks? Why can't he argue with the gardeners to leave humanity alone? He never holds it against you, no matter how cruel your words. Every time you calm down, he patiently reminds you that his dissenting voice is one of the only reasons humanity hasn't been destroyed outright. Meeting Sim in secret makes you feel horrible sometimes, like you're being torn apart in the middle of this war. You love your friendship, but the war takes its toll on your friendship, just like it wears down the colony. As the years go on, you venture out less and less often. It's dangerous out there, and your work keeps you inside the colony. Eventually you stop seeing him at all. You think he might have taken another form. Maybe he's moved on from humans to study some other animal, or maybe the gardeners have given up on understanding humans. The attacks only grow stronger every year. But what about? Your buddy Rex grows from a good boy to a good man. He continues to work hard on the bar, turning it into the place he always dreamed, where people can come and unwind from a long day, enjoying some libations, dance their butts off, and maybe even find love. He gets a reputation for being a matchmaker. In a small colony, there aren't a lot of romantic options, but Rex has an eye for figuring out who would be a good match together. Giving Rex a kiss for luck becomes a tradition amongst those looking for love, and if some people find something a little more temporary than love with Rex, that's their business. Nomi and Rex continue to date, much to the gentle amusement of anyone who knows how mismatched their views on relationships are. Rex would never kiss and tell when it comes to Nomi, but even you can tell that their relationship only blossoms however they manage to make it work. They're best friends and life partners, and just good for each other, like two puzzle pieces, differently shaped but fitting together. Rex dates other people, lots of other people, but he's in it for life with Nomi. Rex always seems abundantly happy with his lot in life, like crashing on Vertumna was the best thing that ever happened to him. It's remarkable that the heliopause could have made someone like him, but you're glad it did. He slows down a little as time goes on, mellowing out and becoming more quiet in his self-confidence. He confides in you that his dog genes will probably mean that his life will be a little shorter than the average human's, but that he wouldn't trade any minute of it. But what about? Nomi continues to pursue their dream as a holo novel creator, but they never stop dabbling in all sorts of things, just the way they like it. Nomi and Rex continue to date, much to the gentle amusement of anyone who knows how mismatched their views on relationships are. It takes Nomi a long time to warm to the idea of getting physical with someone, and they need to love and feel comfortable with them first. They're almost vibrating with happiness when they confide in you that for them, that person is Rex. They're best friends and life partners, and just good for each other, like two puzzle pieces, differently shaped but fitting together. Nomi supports Rex dating other people. After all, that means they just have more time to hang out with their other best friend, you. They never lose their fascination with Vertumnan animals. One of their hyperfixations leads them to volunteer as a rancher, where they're working one fateful day when the explorers bring in a Unisaur. Despite the beast's aggression and capricious nature, something between them just clicks. Nomi becomes the only person who can calm down the fearsome creature, to the point where it will follow along behind them as gentle as a float cow. Nomi's magical unicorn friend is something of a celebrity among the colony. They're a big hit at princess-themed birthday parties. It's hard to believe that someone like Nomi grew up on the heliopause. They don't just march to the beat of their own drum. They're their own brass band and acrobat troupe and free candy buffet all in one person. They're your friend, though, through thick and thin. But what about? The indomitable Marzipan. With Lum in power, there's no shortage of politicking to be done. She remains a political thorn in his side until he's finally replaced with another Helio-born governor, then does the same for the new one, too. When Seek retires, Mars becomes the next chief administrator. It's a great move for her. As chief administrator, she has a voice on the council, as well as a fair bit of power on her own. She's almost more of a pain in the butt than she was before. You watch proudly as she blossoms into the role, becoming the middle manager of everyone's worst nightmares. She confides in you one night over dinner that she thinks she understands why Seek was such hard. The amount of power she wields is ungodly. As for her love life, Mars is never really one to settle down for the long term. She enjoys a string of lovers: Tangent, Utopia, Rex, again, a number of people from the heliopause. Everyone wants her, nobody can cage her. She does eventually have one child, just for the novelty. She enjoys being the center of attention while carrying a surrogate pregnancy, but enjoys being the child's wealthy, generous anti-Marzipan even more. Mars remains surrounded by as much luxury as one could expect on an exoplanet, though she complains about wanting more. She never seems anything less than happy about her life. But what about? Strong and true, Nem sticks by your side, one of your most trusted friends. She may be friendly towards all, but few people really know her like you do. By the time Brett retires and Base becomes chief of security, Nem and Base have almost come to terms with their torrid past. They still butt heads a lot, and Nem doesn't like to talk about her terrible first boyfriend, but they've managed to work together for the sake of the garrison. He even tries to make a pass at her many years later. Luckily, Nem's too wise for his flattery and spots him coming a mile away. You laugh about it for weeks. Nem's relationship with Base may have been brief, but it was formative. She doesn't throw herself into loving anyone that deeply again for a long time, instead focusing on her work. You're by her side during her misadventures at dating some of the other soldiers, and once notably Rex, howling with shared indignity and laughter with every awkward breakup. The life of a soldier is unpredictable and unfortunately often tragic. The colony loses Nem during an attack. She was still so young, as was Calm all those years ago. It's small comfort thinking that they may be together again, wherever they are. But what about? Your parents work hard every day to see their pioneer dreams come true. Feeding the colony is a massive job, but they tackle it together. Farming, ranching, analyzing native plants, trying to find a way for humanity to thrive on Vertumna. Every year, their work is hindered by the attacks that seem to target Geoponics specifically, but they never give up. The strain ages them prematurely. Your mom dies of a heart attack too young, and your dad limps forward another decade or so before it claims him too. They'll always be with you, in the ground you walk on, in the trees that give you shade, in the cycle of life that sustains you. But what about your Hopeye is a good companion, but you're no replacement for its own species. When a herd of Hopeye roam close enough to the colony, you release it back into the wild. And a few years later, you're greeted one morning by a whole litter of Hopeye kittens outside your door, and Optimus Prime proudly showing off their family. But what about your Ricky grows from the size of a small dog to the size of a bear, becoming more and more unwieldy and more terrifying to small children. Before the council can force you to do anything about your arachnid octopus friend, Bright Eyes just disappears. You look everywhere in the colony for it, but your answer comes from outside the wall, a new Ricky nursery tree. Soon the colony is host to many curious Ricky pups who call your Bright Eyes home. And in my later years, the days turn to months, eventually becoming years, then decades. Before you know it, you're old. Life is tough, but rewarding. Rotunda continues to challenge you and your loved ones. The attacks continue every year, getting harder and harder to withstand. And not just that, but droughts, earthquakes, disease, storms, pestilence, and more. Some years you worry that the colony and humanity will be wiped off the map for good, but humans are good at surviving. The adversity strengthens your resolve. You mourn your dead, celebrate your births, and keep adapting to whatever the planet throws at you. This is your home, for better or worse. You do what you can to make it a good one. Eventually death comes to you, as it does to everyone. In the moment of your death, as your brain cells fizzle out one by one and shut down forever, a vision swims in your mind's eye. Is that a person? They seem so familiar. You feel like you know them so well. Oh, it's you, only ancient. His arms are covered with so many databands, so many lifetimes of knowledge. The ancient you speaks, without moving his mouth, not in words, but in something like pictures. Still, you understand. He smiles. We had a good life, don't you think? But there are so many possibilities, and this was only one of them. I could have done better. Yep, he mentions Tammy. There was a girl. We were young together, Tammy with the cotton candy hair. Such a shame to see life snuffed out so young. He gives you a look as if to say you were somehow responsible for this. Wait, were you? Could you have saved her? We have a chance to take another path, to change the way our life turned out. He reaches out a hand. Come with me. Go with them. Looks like we managed to become friends with Tang, Cal, Sim, Nomi, and Brex. So we didn't get Anemone quite high enough. Obviously Base wasn't there. Or Mars. We didn't get Mars either. But that is the end. So I guess I would ask, are people wanting to see another playthrough of this? Or would you prefer me to move on to something else? I'll leave that up as a question for both Twitch as well as YouTube. I might even consider taking a break to play something else and then come back to this if there's a desire. We'll see what I end up doing next week. But as it is, that's going to be the end of this stream. So I will see you all next week with whatever we end up playing.